So, what does a successful career truly look like for you? Is it that traditional climb up the corporate ladder, aiming for that six-figure salary? Or is it something, well, totally different, like forging your own path as an entrepreneur? Being your own boss, calling the shots, these aren't just abstract ideas, are they? They're two really distinct visions of professional life, and each one has its own unique appeal, but also, let's be honest, a fair few hidden complexities.
Exactly. And that's precisely the crossroads we're diving into today. This deep dive is really custom tailored for you. We're pulling from a fascinating stack of, well, diverse sources. We've got comprehensive U.S. job market data, some insights into IRS classifications, which sounds dry, but it's crucial, plus inspiring entrepreneurial case studies, and even a pretty lively online debate we found on the pros and cons of each path.
Yeah, our mission here is basically to give you a shortcut. A shortcut to understanding the surprising truths, maybe some stark realities too, and those often overlooked challenges that come with these huge career choices. We're going to unpack what the data really reveals about where the highest salaries are actually found, what it actually takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Hint, it's not just a good idea. And yeah, those sobering startup failure rates. Plus, how something as basic as health insurance plays this surprisingly critical and even gendered role in the whole entrepreneurial journey.
Right. Our goal, like always, is to equip you with key nuggets of knowledge. Useful stuff. We want to help you make more informed decisions about your professional journey and whatever path you might be considering. So let's jump right in. What are the numbers telling us?
Okay, let's kick off with some, frankly, eye-opening data right out of the gate. When you look at the landscape of high-paying traditional jobs in the U.S., it becomes really clear that one industry just completely dominates the top of the salary ladder. According to the latest Bureau of Labor Statistics data, this is from May 2024, a staggering 22 out of the top 25 highest-paying occupations in the whole country are in medicine. 22 out of 25. That's basically a monopoly, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And these roles, they don't just sit at the top of the salary ladder, they practically own it. I mean, look at pediatric surgeons. They lead the pack, average annual salary of $450,810. Cardiologists are right behind them, $432,490. We're talking about professions that involve, high-stakes environments, incredibly extensive, rigorous training, and just immense responsibility day in, day out.
Wow.
And other top medical specialties. You've got dermatologists, $347,810, anesthesiologists, $336,640. Emergency medicine physicians, averaging around $320,700. It's not just the demand, although that's huge. It's also the stringent barriers to entry, right? Years and years of education, residencies, fellowships. That all solidifies medicine's, well, almost unshakable grip on these top-tier earnings. It's a mix of scarcity, skill, and, frankly, indispensable societal value.
Okay, so if medicine has this undeniable hold, what about the exceptions? Who are the non-medical outliers that managed to crack this elite top 25 list?
Well, we found three. First, airline pilots, co-pilots, and flight engineers. They come in at an average of $280,570. Then, maybe less surprisingly, chief executive officers, CEOs. Their average is $262,930. And finally, athletes and sports competitors, averaging $259,750. But what's really striking is that all top 25 highest-paying jobs, every single one boasts an average annual salary of at least $245,000. It paints a very, very specific picture of where those guaranteed high salaries tend to cluster.
It really does. And this data, it just underscores the enduring appeal of traditional employment for many people. We actually saw this exact tension playing out in an online forum discussion.
Yeah.
People arguing really passionately for the predictable paycheck, highlighting the sheer mental relief, that feeling of an off switch at 5 p.m.
Oh, yeah, the off switch.
Traditional roles generally offer stable income streams, company benefits, things like health insurance, retirement plans, and often more predictable work hours. You close your laptop, you're done for the day. Mostly. And this contrasts pretty sharply with the average small business owner's salary. The reports put that around $69,119. Now, okay, that's 16% above the national average mean wage of $59,428. But it can vary wildly, like from $32,000 up to $147,000. So yeah, the entrepreneurial ceiling might be higher, theoretically, but the floor can also be much, much lower, and that off switch often just doesn't exist.
That off switch really does sound incredibly appealing sometimes, doesn't it? Just the mental space you gain, even if the financial ceiling isn't quite as stratospheric. But look, for many people, the pull of building something of their own, it's just undeniable. So let's shift gears. Let's turn our attention to the entrepreneurial path. There's this widespread idea, right, that owning a business automatically leads to greater wealth, more happiness, building a legacy. And it definitely offers autonomy. You can pursue your passions, control your schedule, at least in theory. And the data backs some of this up. 76% of small business owners report being somewhat happy or very happy with their careers. That's a powerful pull. It's a different kind of security, maybe.
It really is. And the stories of successful entrepreneurs, they definitely fuel that dream. They make it seem sometimes like the guaranteed path to wealth. But if we look a bit deeper, take someone like Elon Musk. He isn't just visionary, right? His story is really about relentless, almost obsessive focus on iteration, learning from every single failure. That mindset is so critical for navigating unknown territory, whether it was Zip2, PayPal, Tesla, or Speed.
Howard Schultz at Starbucks. His story is fascinating. That deep market understanding, the customer-centric approach, emphasizing quality, community, ethical sourcing. He turned a small bean retailer into a global giant. It really speaks to the power of understanding your market and building a brand that connects with people on a deeper level.
Absolutely. Or think about Jeff Bezos, his unwavering commitment to customer satisfaction, that innovative adaptability. It didn't just pioneer e-commerce with Amazon. It continues to drive strategic moves like buying Whole Foods and Audible. He was always looking ahead, always thinking about the next step in convenience for the customer.
And Mark Zuckerberg, of course. Facebook. Meta now. That user-centric focus, the continuous innovation, may be controversial at times, but strategic growth through buying Instagram, WhatsApp, connecting billions globally. His success really highlights the importance of scaling, adapting super quickly, especially in the digital world.
And one more, Sarah Blakely. Started Spanx with just $5,000. $5,000.
Her story isn't just about a clever product. It's about pure entrepreneurial spirit, creative marketing on a shoestring, and just the sheer grit to solve a common problem with a simple but really effective solution. Building a global brand literally from her apartment. These stories, they're incredibly inspiring. They show diverse paths to huge success. But they also lead us to a pretty critical question, don't they? They are amazing stories, no doubt. But now, let's pull back the curtain a bit. Let's talk about the harder truth of entrepreneurship. Because the data here is genuinely sobering. We love hearing about the Musks and Bezoses and Blakeleys, right? But the reality, up to 90% of startups fail overall. 90%. That means maybe only 1 in 10 traditional businesses actually survives over the long haul. It is a remarkably tough road, seriously tough.
Yeah, and this brings up something called survivorship bias. We hear about the winners because, well, they survived to tell the tale. We don't hear as much from the hundreds of thousands who didn't make it and the timeline of failure. It's pretty grim when you look at it. About 10% of new businesses don't even make it through the first year. Around 70% fail between years 2 and 5. 45% don't survive past year 5. And 65% fail within 10 years. It's a long game with tough odds.
Wow, 65% within 10 years.
Yeah. And even in super hot evolving fields like AI, startups there are predicted to have a failure rate around 85% in their first 3 years. So yeah, inspiration is vital. You need it. But a really clear-eyed, realistic assessment of the risk involved is paramount for anyone thinking about this path.
And the costs, just to get started, can be a huge barrier too. You hear about starting lean, but the average cost to launch a small business is cited around $3,000. But for anything more complex, like say a healthcare provider or a manufacturing company, that can easily top $100,000 in payroll. That's highlighted as one of the biggest startup costs, averaging $300,500 for just 5 employees. So given those incredibly high failure rates we just talked about, it makes you wonder, what are the most common critical mistakes? What are the pitfalls entrepreneurs fall into that lead to these outcomes beyond just, running out of cash?
That's a really crucial question. Because, running out of capital, that accounts for a huge chunk, 38% of failures. But the absolute top reason, cited in 42% of failures, is insufficient market demand. Basically, they built something nobody really needed, or at least wasn't willing to pay enough for.
The build it and they will come fallacy.
Exactly. Other big reasons include poor product market fit, that's 34%. The product doesn't quite solve the problem well enough. An inadequate marketing strategy comes in at 22%. You might have a great product, but if no one knows about it, and surprisingly often, team problems, about 18%. Co-founder disputes, wrong hires, things like that. So it's not just about a great idea. It's about validating it, understanding the market deeply, building a solid team, and executing well. Oh, and interestingly, the construction industry, highest failure rate, about 25% in the first year. While healthcare and social assistance, they show the highest survival rates, probably due to more consistent demand, maybe.
That makes sense. So it's clear it's not just having the spark of an idea. It's about execution, precision, foresight, and keeping a really keen eye on those market realities. And when we talk about the stark financial realities, it's not just startup capital and market demand. It's also about navigating the regulatory landscape, which brings us to that crucial distinction the IRS makes: employee versus independent contractor. This isn't just semantics, right? It affects tax obligations in a big way based on things like behavioral control, financial control, the nature of the relationship.
Precisely. It's fundamental. Generally, businesses have to withhold and pay income tax, Social Security, Medicare taxes for their employees. Standard stuff. But for independent contractors, typically, the business doesn't do that withholding, meaning the contractor is responsible for figuring out and paying their own self-employment taxes, which can be a significant amount. And if there's ever uncertainty about how to classify a worker, there are official processes, like filing a Form SS8 with the IRS to get a clear ruling. It's really vital for both businesses and individuals to get this right, to understand their responsibilities and stay compliant. It's a foundational piece you can't ignore.
Okay, so taxes are one piece. Now let's dive into maybe one of the biggest and honestly often overlooked hurdles for entrepreneurs: health insurance. There was this crucial finding from a 2016 U.S. Federal Reserve Board study. It revealed that even with the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, fully in place, the self-employed were still 66% less likely to have health insurance compared to the general population, 66% less likely. And this is despite one of the ACA's main goals being to weaken that entrepreneurship lock effect.
What's the entrepreneurship lock effect?
It's basically when people feel locked into traditional jobs they might otherwise leave, primarily because they need the benefits, especially the health insurance. They're afraid to lose it if they strike out on their own. So the ACA was meant to help unlock that, but the data suggests it's still a major barrier.
And what's really fascinating and frankly concerning is the gendered impact of this specific challenge. The study found self-employed women are significantly less likely to be insured compared to self-employed men. Their odds of having coverage were 83% lower than the general population. 83%. Whereas for self-employed men, the odds were 62% lower. Still bad, but a noticeable difference.
Wow, that's a huge gap. 83% lower versus 62%?
Right. And this is the complete opposite of the trend you see in the general population. Generally, women are actually 56% more likely to be insured than men. So this really flips the script for entrepreneurs. It raises a big question. Why? Why this striking disparity specifically for women entrepreneurs?
It's a really critical point. And the sources we looked at point to several potential reasons. For one, women often start their ventures with less capital. They face bigger barriers to getting financing. We know this from other research too, which means they might not qualify for, less expensive group health insurance rates through their business. And they also tend to keep their ventures smaller, maybe fewer employees, which also impacts group rate eligibility. It seems like a confluence of factors.
That seems right. And add to that, women on average tend to demand more comprehensive benefits, things like preventive care, childbirth coverage, mental health services,
Right.
which unfortunately could lead to higher private insurance costs for them individually. There was a report from eHealth back in 2018 showing the average monthly premium was like 461 calls for women versus $418 for men. Not a huge difference, but it adds up.
Yeah.
So if you connect the dots, limited startup funds, potentially higher personal insurance costs, it creates this significant barrier for women entrepreneurs trying to get adequate health coverage. It feels like a systemic issue impacting their ability to take that entrepreneurial risk.
And it gets even more layered, doesn't it, when you consider the influence of networks. The research found that for self-employed women, relying primarily on what they call strong ties networks, like close friends and family for financial advice, that reliance was significantly associated with being less likely to actually purchase health insurance. But this association wasn't observed for self-employed men. Why would that be?
That's a really critical insight, I think. The theory is that these strong tie, more homogeneous networks, friends, family, they might lack the diverse, maybe more specialized professional advice needed for complex financial decisions like health insurance. Maybe they don't have an accountant or an insurance broker in their immediate circle giving that specific guidance. In contrast, maybe male entrepreneurs networks are, on average, more likely to include those kinds of professional contacts, lawyers, accountants, brokers, who can offer more robust, diverse insights. It's about the kind of information flowing through the network.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just having a network, but the composition of that network.
Exactly. And the real-world consequences of being uninsured or underinsured, they're severe. We can't understate this. Medical debt is still a leading cause, if not the leading cause, of consumer bankruptcy filings in the U.S. And back in 2019, data showed 26% of self-employed people avoided seeking medical care because of the cost. Compare that to just 11% of salaried workers. That's more than double.
26% avoiding care. That's risky.
Hugely risky. And 20% of the self-employed reported having problems paying family medical bills, again, compared to 11% of salaried workers.
Yeah.
It's just a stark reminder that health security is every bit as crucial as financial security, especially when you're out there on your own as an entrepreneur.
So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. What does this all mean for you listening right now as you navigate your own professional journey? We've really delved into two distinct pathways, right? Both equally valid in their own way. On one hand, you've got the structured stability, the clear earning potential of traditional employment, especially as the data shows in those high-demand fields like healthcare. It offers that predictable income, the benefits package, and yeah, that often desired off switch at the end of the day.
And then on the other hand, there's the entrepreneurial journey. The allure is powerful. It promises potentially immense wealth, certainly more autonomy, the chance to build a lasting legacy. But as we've seen, it also comes packed with significant risks, unique challenges, like navigating the complexities of health insurance without an employer's safety net, facing those daunting failure rates, the constant hustle, and the absolute necessity of profound resilience. You have to be able to bounce back.
So, as you consider your own path, your own professional journey, here's maybe a final thought for you to ponder. In this world we're in, with evolving job markets, economic uncertainty swirling around, how does understanding these two very distinct pathways inform your personal definition of security and success? Is real security for you about minimizing those external risks, finding stability in employment? Or is it maybe more about cultivating internal resilience, developing the adaptability to create your own opportunities, even when facing significant challenges like unexpected health costs or a market downturn?
That's the core question, isn't it?
Yeah. We really encourage you to think beyond just the financial gain. Consider the full spectrum. Your personal values, how you want to invest your time, your own appetite for risk, all crucial factors when you're charting your professional course.